Very good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. This afternoon, I'll be speaking on a topic about voyeurism with special attention to upskirting. This is a very fairly recent phenomenon in the last 5 years, and largely due to the advances in our mobile camera technology. Uh, some of you may wonder what is a forensic psychiatrist. As a forensic psychiatrist, what we do is that we do psychiatric assessments for the when an offender is suspected to have a mental illness, and the police and the court sometimes wants to know whether his mental illness affected his judgment. And if it did so, is there any opportunity for him to get treatment or have a lighter sentence? A very big part of my work is to do assessments for people who are suspected of having done a crime, and they are also thought to have a mental illness. The background that you see behind me is actually Changi Prison. I spent about half my week there in the prison. I'm also a prison psychiatrist, so I take care of the prisoners who have psychiatric disorders during their while they are serving their prison sentence. So, in a nutshell, a forensic psychiatrist is one who deals with cases where where medicine actually interacts with the legal profession. We do assessments, and we also care for prisoners who have psychiatric disorders. So a big part of my work, we see people who are suspected of doing voyeuristic behavior practically every week to 2 weeks. Once every fortnight or once every week, we will have a case coming for assessment. That is really it's really quite common, at least in my profession, to see this group of people. So a bit of the historical background about voyeurism. Actually, this whole idea about voyeurism has been with us for many, many centuries. It is a very, very human thing to be curious, to be capable. Some people, before technology took over, some people were peeping toms. People would hide in the shadows to look at someone that they were interested in. So it's really something that has been around for many, many, many centuries. However, the advent of technology really spawned a new form of voyeurism. And with that, it's not just a new form, but also allow many people to have voyeuristic activities, because all of us have a mobile phone, and most of our mobile phones in Singapore have a mobile camera. So this is technology also has worsened the situation, because it allows people not just to take photos and video, but as well as to share them. So we have got Telegram chat groups that people share pornography on, and this pornography tends to be of relatively high quality when it comes to video resolution. Definitely, most video resolution are 1080p, if not 4K type of resolutions. And also, we have also now have devices where a camera can be fit into. So we got spectacles, for example, where a camera can be disguised into a pair of spectacles. Also, the tip of a ballpoint pen. If you want any of this, just go to Lazada or Shopee. Just search for camera pen or something like that, and or spy camera, and there's so many models out there. You can just buy them off Shopee or Lazada. So really, it's really what really made the difference here and now is really camera technology and the mobile phone. It's so widespread, so available, and always in our hands. So roll back 20 years, 30 years ago, this was really the voyeur's tool 20, 30 years ago. I do not know whether this is known, but certainly for me, I came from an all boys school. It was fairly known that people would take the pencil sharpener, and then there would be the mirror on one side of the pencil sharpener, and then some naughty boys will put it on the floor, and try to take a peek at their teacher and all that sort of thing. So this was really the 1G voyeur tool. Yeah. Whereas now we of course have our mobile phones. And with it came other mirrors also were found in other parts of the schoolboy's bag, that you have it in the pencil case and things like that. And this will be used to really try to peep at people. That was a story maybe 20, 30 years ago. And also in what the voyeurs used to do last time. I mean, these are stories that the voyeurs tell us. Some of them would really hide out under the overhead bridge, right? And they would also try to peep at people when they are standing at the street level as the people were walking up or walking down. So that's before mobile phones. I guess this was what voyeurs did. So what is the law in Singapore? The law in Singapore has recently changed. Prior to 2020, we didn't have a specific law for voyeurism. It used to be classified under outrage or modesty. But because this voyeur behavior has become quite common, and also it also affects not just Singapore, but it's quite it's done quite a lot in South Korea also, and to some extent, United Kingdom. Yeah, so all these things it's quite international phenomenon, but not much is reported about this. But in Singapore, we have very specific laws targeting voyeurism. So it comes under Section 377BB, and it reads that any person shall be guilty of an offense if they intentionally observe another person doing a private act without the consent of the person, or who operates equipment and records another person doing a private act without the person's consent. Yeah, and the current term is 2 years, or with fine or with caning. Yeah. So this is the current law in place in Singapore. So there are many variants of voyeurism. The most common that we read about in the newspapers would be upskirting. So I think practically every few weeks there is a newspaper report regarding upskirting. However, we also have, at least in my profession, I do see some of these cases. We have people filming others changing or bathing when you're using a company shower, for example, a company changing room, or at one of those country clubs or public pool and all that. So some people may film other people changing or bathing. Yeah. We occasionally do see guys who sneak into a female toilet, hide in a cubicle, and film the victim passing urine or passing motion. Yeah. So some of these things excite them or thrill them. Yeah. Some people would use small recording devices and put them in places like the changing room of a country club toilet, for example, and film people changing. Yeah. And also, some people indulge in voyeur pornography, and they exchange their voyeur pornography either through the internet or by Telegram or one of these messaging services. Yeah. So these are the behaviors that we see in Singapore, at least in my line of work. So I'd just like to discuss a couple of cases that have been in the media. Okay, so the first one is actually quite interesting. This happened in a building in Tai Seng, and it happened to be caught by a dash cam. And I just want to play the video for you, okay? Some people may feel it's quite upsetting to see some of these things, but this is at least this is an illustration of what actually happens in a upskirting event. Yeah. So you see the guy on the left with the bag, with the laptop bag. He's starting to place his mobile phone under his colleague's skirt. And you can see at this point the yellow bright spot. So the camera light is actually on at this point. Yeah. And look, there he goes. You see, even at the end of the whole thing, he waves goodbye to all his colleagues, and they all go home. You see, yeah. So this guy obviously was caught, yeah, and this is one of the few videos that I know of because it just coincidentally was shot by another car's dash cam, and then there was evidence. So this is something that I will talk about later in my session today. Is that many people who are doing this type of activities, they are so caught up doing these activities that they don't know the risk involved because the risk they may not even be aware of. In this case, there was another dash cam, of the event. So it's really quite. I mean, he wouldn't have known that he'll be so unlucky that it was the dash cam was actually recording him, and so that's how he was caught. So other variants that we have come to see are, for example, men who hide in the female toilet cubicle to film women peeing. There are some men who film other men peeing at the urinal. Yeah, and the same thing also. A guy can hide in the cubicle and then film another cubicle, another guy in a cubicle doing, passing urine or passing motion or showering. Yeah. We have cases whereby people go so far as to fit a camera into his shoe, and then they either buy a shoe and punch a hole in it, or get a shoe that has some design, such that they can easily punch a hole and it looks as if it's part of the design. And what one perpetrator told me was that he used Crocs. He will buy Crocs that are 2 sizes larger than his feet, and then he'll stuff the camera into his Crocs, because Crocs already have holes, so it's quite useful to him to do his illegal activities. We also had I also had one quite disturbing story whereby a voyeur actually put a camera in his home toilet, and every weekend his extended family will come to visit for the whole afternoon. They'll have lunch together, stay the whole afternoon. Sometimes they'll be helping to clean the house, organize the house, and so the relatives will have showers, and he'll film his relatives doing all their private things in the home toilet. So there are people who are quite bizarre in their fantasies and their whatever excites them. Of course, this guy was also caught, and he was prosecuted. So here are some observations of the cases I've handled so far. There's very little really written in the scientific literature with regards to this type of behavior because it is relatively new. But the cases that I've handled so far, all of them have been male. I have never come across a female voyeur or a female doing such activities. Yeah, it's only men who do it. There are many of the perpetrators, the people who film, they actually watch quite a bit of porn, as well as masturbate quite frequently, multiple times a day, in fact. And this type of porn viewing has been going on for years. And many of them actually have very early exposure to pornography, some as early as primary school. This could be because they are the parents, or more specifically, their father did not password protect the computer, didn't put in the family filter or whatever porn there was in the house, before the advent of streaming porn, there were these DVDs and VCDs in the house. These were not kept in a locked place and all that. So some of these people really had very, very early exposure to pornography, as early as primary school. Many of them also have they are socially awkward. They are not so popular and not so comfortable interacting with other people. Yeah, some people may actually have a very obsessive personality. So what happens is that they film and they take the media, they watch the media, then they'll start classifying the media, the videos and all that. And I've seen one whereby they classify onto the different types of victims, and the different color of the underwear and things like that. So they actually classify all these videos according to the color of the underwear. So it's all these they are quite obsessive in that way. Yeah. And many of them said that they have actually tried to stop filming, but I guess they find it so pleasurable that it has become quite a habit for them. The worst cases whereby they have hundreds in 400-500 videos that they film themselves. These people can spend their off days or their weekends just specifically going out to film. It's become part of their leisure activity, so to speak. It's not as if it was opportunistic. They actually go out on a hunt to film their victims. So this is really kind of the observations I've had when I assess the cases. And many of them would say that after being caught, they said, I could have stopped, but I do not know why I could not stop. Yeah, because for those people who have already filmed hundreds, I've seen one that's had 3,000 over videos that he filmed over several years. So it has become really quite habitual, and for them, it's our human, I guess, behavior to want more and more and more. I mean, for us, when we like something, we just naturally want to have more of it. So at the end of the day, they can't stop their behavior. So actually, why is it that this thing happens? And because it's fairly common. That's why you get to hear of a case every now and then. My observation again, I like to stress that there's no scientific literature on this because it's such a new phenomenon. But what we observe is that some people have a inborn vulnerability. The first issue is about their personality. Some people are very obsessive, so they are obsessive and they just want more and more and more of things that are pleasurable to them, and they find that they can't stop. So for example, some people are collectors, right? I mean, if there are 15 things to collect in that series, they have to collect all 15 items. This is their personality. And so when it comes to upskirting, when they feel that they need a certain collection, they'll go out to collect, and this obsessiveness of them drives their behavior. Others have very poor impulse control when they are, I guess, when they want to film, they can't stop themselves, they can't distract themselves. They just give in to their desire and then they just go out and do it. Another aspect of personality is that it's the type of porn they like. So just like all of us have our favorite ice cream flavor, all of us have our favorite food. For these people, they have their own favorite genre of pornography. So for these people who do upskirting, the genre of pornography they like is really the voyeur type, where you have spy cams, You have hidden cameras, you have upskirting, and they will find their own. They will find people, similar people of similar interests on internet, and then they'll just exchange media among themselves. And again, many of them seem to be a bit socially awkward. They are not so confident about themselves, confident about approaching women, making friends, and getting a date, and things, and sustaining a relationship. So their social awkwardness sometimes make them turn towards alternative ways of seeking pleasure. The next issue is pornography in itself. What's different between pornography in the last 5 years compared to pornography 20 years ago is that the internet has really changed the whole nature of pornography. Last time, 20, 30 years ago, at least in the Singapore context, people would smuggle them in whenever they flew off to a neighboring country for holiday. They will sneak in Playboy or one of those Penthouse or some of those Taiwanese soft porn sort of magazines whenever they are overseas, right? So pornography in itself is not so accessible. So it's you have to sneak around to buy DVDs and VCDs in the past. Yeah. So it's not really at your fingertips, so to speak. However, with the internet, porn is available everywhere, anytime, and in your hands. You can get porn on your mobile phone. You don't have to go search or wait once a month to get your new magazine. So it's accessible to everywhere, to any age group, and it's available instantly, almost instantly, because it's directly available to you. And it's also available in all genres. You can start with 1x to 3x to whatever genre you want. You can find it all on the internet. So this is what the internet has done to porn, and that's why many people who are vulnerable to pornography addiction and this type of voyeur behavior, because pornography in itself will wire your brain in a certain way and make you more vulnerable to wanting to watch more, because it is natural for most people, for most guys at least, to find porn quite pleasurable. So really, is ease of access and also privacy, because that means you can watch your porn in private. You can do it, in your own room, in your office, privately, and just about anywhere, right? And many of these porn sites are free. At least some parts of it are free. So all these things really change the whole landscape of pornography with the internet age. There are also specific factors in a person's life that make them more vulnerable to upskirting behavior. So some people are bored. They are not active. They don't cultivate hobbies. They don't have a social group to hang out with. So all these people, because of they're bored. So they basically find pleasure in this activity. And together with the boredom, some people are really lonely. So behind every so-called porn upskirt video that they film, there's always a fantasy. They always have some fantasy running through their head, through their minds. Many times they'll try to film a particular type of person that they fancy. So there's always a fantasy in their mind when they film the voyeur porn. Yeah. And sometimes the victim, they like to film victims that are unattainable to them, because either they don't have the social skills or the opportunity to get to know them better, so they just would like to film these unattainable victims. We have had cases who were undergoing an episode of depression or stress, and so they found that voyeur activity gave them pleasure, so it was a temporary relief from their depressed mood. Okay, some of them told us that this type of activity really gives them a big kick. I mean, just as for many of us, just going back to the topic of ice cream flavors, I mean, some people love vanilla. They cannot do without vanilla. And some people love chocolate. Some people love Mao Shan Wang durian, right? So that when they taste that particular flavor, it really gives them a big kick. So really, this is for them, for this group of people, voyeur activities and watching voyeur films gives them a big kick. Yeah. And of course, in some of the most, distasteful cases that I've met, some of them do it because they want to be higher ranking inside the social media group. So they will have this private chat group whereby people exchange porn and all that. And to go up the rank inside that social media group, you have to film more, exchange more, and post more porn. So some of them do it for the sake of wanting to go up the ranks. So it just happens. So through the work experience I've had, we can more or less group people into three types of severities. Again, this is my personal view. It's not really something scientific. But what I would regard as a mild variety will be someone who watches voyeur porn. He has a fairly healthy respect for the law. He's quite worried that he will get prosecuted, and he actually feels guilty if he actually tries. And he also has developed his own value system and spiritual beliefs, and that protects him from actually going out to film more. And this type of person, you never know who he is. It could be your neighbor, it could be your colleague at work, and you really do not know who this person is. They are just about everywhere. Then the next severity is the moderate group. So these are the people who watch voyeur porn fairly regularly. And I mean regular means daily, okay? And many have attempted to film a few times already, and it started due to their curiosity. And then they actually try to stop, but they can't stop themselves because for them it is so pleasurable for them to do that. Some of them actually enjoy the excitement of the hunt. They actually, as they are selecting their victim and all that, they actually enjoy this chase, so to speak, to hunt down their victims. Some of them have stopped this activity because while the chase itself is pleasurable and exciting, the filming itself is very anxiety provoking. And this anxiety in itself, they say, they can't take it, so they stop doing that. And again, you would never know who this person is. It can really be all around us. Yeah. And some of them, if they can control themselves after filming one or two times, they may actually stop for a while. Then, but under a period of stress, they may actually start again. And finally, it's the severe one. The severe ones is the one that really comes to the newspapers. And sometimes you have shocking stories about a person, police found 400 videos on his mobile phone. I've had a case that they found 3,000 videos. So these people have typically they would have had a very early exposure to pornography, and they have very, very frequent porn viewing. When I say frequent in this case, we're talking not just daily, but many times a day, as totaling many hours a day. Yeah. And then their free time, their leisure time is really, they actually look forward to their leisure time where they can go out to hunt for a victim. It becomes kind of like their sport, their little habit and leisure activity. I mean, some of us are quite happy to watch our K-drama and all that, but these people know they'll go out to hunt for their victims. Some of them are actually, can be quite obsessive about filming and keeping the media, organizing them neatly into different folders on their computer. and they keep escalating their bonus of attempt. So each time they escalate and they want more and they take more risk, then that really increases the chance of getting caught. Yeah, so it's almost really like an addictive form of type of behavior. So why is it that some of them get caught? This is something that for many of them, um, they really underestimate the risk. I don't know whether you all have observed people walking out of a 4D shop. If you watch people walking out of 4D shop, you see them looking at their tickets, checking that the tickets are the numbers that they want. Some of them can like trip and fall onto the grass, and some of them may be walking in the middle of the road. They don't really care. They don't really know that there are cars behind them and all that. So when people are engaged in this type of activity, their mind really is so focused that they truly underestimate the risk of getting caught. Because many times the people who are caught, they are caught at the mall or caught at the um, MRT. Yeah, MRT is quite common actually to see this sort of things happening. Yeah, so they think that people don't care. They think the members of public don't care. But I dare say that really some members of public, when they see this sort of things, people come together to actually catch the fella. And I heard from the perpetrators themselves that when they are caught, 3 or 4 people, members of public, actually pin him down, hold him there while people call the security guard and on 999, that sort of thing. So I think Singaporeans, we do help out when there's a need to. Another reason why they get caught is because they get increasingly bold. When I say bold, maybe they do it more frequently. One of my perpetrators, he got very, very bold, in fact. So what he did was that he actually went to buy a school uniform. This guy is already in his mid-20s. He went to buy a school uniform, and then he was the one who put the camera in his shoe. And then he actually uh, entered a school, okay, and hung around the canteen just to film. So this is a very, very bold attempt. And it's not just I've heard this story a few times already of people actually entering schools on all sorts of funny pretexts. Some people say they're coming to pick people up and all sorts of things, all sorts of lousy excuses. But I've had stories of them entering even a school toilet to hide in order to film. And that's a very, very bold sort of attempt. And that's how out of control they can be. And also some of these people, they film increasingly frequently, several times a week sometimes. And the more times you do, the more likely you get caught. And because, it's just exposing yourself to the risk. And for some, it's what I call sheer bad luck. Yeah, sheer bad luck. Um, I got I got I got cases whereby a person was filming, and then the phone slipped out of his hand. It slipped out of his hand and it made a noise, and then someone turned around and saw the phone there. I got cases whereby he waited for the victim to leave the female toilet, right? So he thought the victim had left the toilet. Then what happened was that when he left the toilet, the victim and the victim's boyfriend were just talking, chatting outside the toilet, and then they saw a man coming out of the female toilet. And of course, they were very suspicious of the fella, right? So sometimes it's just by sheer bad luck that people get caught. So what can we do to prevent this type of behavior? And I say this to the parents in this audience. I think it's important to really keep your home cyber safe. Yeah, because especially for primary school kids and teenagers, when their brain are still developing and still wiring up, early and recurrent porn exposure to children is truly harmful to their psychological development. Yeah. So, but once you're adult, you need to really limit your porn viewing and your masturbation, because all these things really kind of like reinforces the habit. And when things are pleasurable, you just want more and more of it. It's about trying to develop that self-control or putting limits on yourself. Because if you don't, then the police will put limits on you, in that sense. Another thing that we tell our perpetrators is that you really need to keep busy and develop alternative hobbies, and try to be socially engaged. Join a hobby club, at Safra or the community center. Get involved in something. Yeah. And then the next thing that I think one should develop, is that I think one should develop a healthy respect for the law. Because in today's Singapore, the law is very high tech. There are so many police cameras everywhere. Uh, there's so much technology going on, that it's really not easy to get away with things in Singapore, at least. So we just need to have a healthy respect for the law, and also you need to have a healthy respect for what we call chance and luck. I know not everyone believes in luck and chance, but there's sometimes it's really if you're sway lah. It's just about chance and luck. Sometimes it's just sheer bad luck. You don't know how to explain it. It's just that way. You see, yeah. And I think it's important. Whoever in this audience, if you're tuning in because you happen to have this behavior, I think it's good to seek help if your behavior is getting more and more frequent and you cannot stop it on your own. Yeah. The what is the red line? The red line is crossed when you take your first video. That means if you really had done so, I think really you should really try to seek help, because if not, then you really have a chance to get caught. And mind you, what we know today is that if a person gets caught and is reported in newspapers, or Channel News Asia or any website, your name lives on the internet forever. It's very hard to remove so many stories about you. Most stories will be repeated. Some of the stories are put onto from originally could be from Straits Times, then it goes to newspaper, then it goes into another website and things like that. So sometimes it's very hard to remove all those links about your news story. So it's not just the embarrassment of having your story printed in the printed Straits Times, but once it goes on the internet, it lives there forever. Yeah. And then for potential victims, just be aware that out there are people who are who are prone to do this, and so I guess just be alert lah, and sometimes just be aware. In this modern day and age, some people do this type of things. So when it comes to treatment, currently there is no treatment that we are aware of that is has been researched to be effective. Meaning to say that it may be effective, just that no research has demonstrated it yet, because it's so new. Some of the things here that I mentioned, we borrow from other addictions that we treat. Okay, one is to have what we call an accountability buddy. An accountability buddy is a trusted person, a good friend or a trusted person, whereby you would tell the person, I mean, like confess to the person, I couldn't control myself. Yesterday I went out to film. So basically you make yourself accountable to somebody, right? Instead of keeping it all your deep dark secret on your own. The next thing is to develop your own spirituality, because all spiritual movements and religions teach good things, teach you how to be a good person. So if a person doesn't subscribe to a particular religion, or is a free thinker, it's not a bad idea to really come and develop or learn the good things about what some spiritual beliefs want to teach. Because all spiritual movements try to make people a better person. We should also address the other aspects of that person who is lacking. That means sometimes they may not be so good at making friends, sustaining relationships, sustaining hobbies, and so it's really to develop skills in that area, such that they have things to do. Yeah. And of course, seeking professional help is one way of doing so. And we always encourage them to be honest with themselves. Because when people do this sort of things, they typically will lie to themselves. Yeah, they'll say, no, I'm not so bad. I'm not such a gone case and things like that. I won't get caught and things like that. Typically, people will just lie to themselves. And sometimes we do prescribe a medication. Uh, Again, there is no research that demonstrates that it's useful, but we do it off-label, meaning say that we've seen it helpful in other addictions. So we may prescribe something called a selective serotonin uptake inhibitor to treat some of this